Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for listening to my sixth audio log. Today I'm just going to speak a little bit about my thought process behind the voices that I use when I'm reading the visual novels. Trying to keep the voices from being silly and annoying, but at the same time still trying to make them all different enough that you can distinguish who the characters are without having to look at the screen all the time. Because, like I said, I read everything out loud, generally for people who can't stare at the screen the whole time. So it kind of defeats the purpose if I don't use different voices. Because if I didn't, then people would have to look up at the screen all the time to see which character is supposed to be saying the lines. So that's why I do the different voices. Because especially with a game like Norn 9, there are so many people, so many guys, and I really had to come up with different types of voices for them because, I'm only one person. There's only so much I can do. Basically, if I try to use a normal voice for like Senri and Kakeru and four or five of the guys would all sound the same. So that's why I had to give people I had to give Akito a very deep bassy voice, even though his character in the game doesn't. But I think it kind of suits him because he's that gruff delinquent type. And then I gave Senri that really mousy, fretful type voice. I think that suits him too. But both of those guys had just regular normal voices, but Kakeru basically was my middle ground voice in that game. So, in order to keep these guys from sounding like Kakeru and other, keep other guys from sounding all the same, I had to develop some farther out ranged voices that didn't really sound like the original characters so much. I actually did try some voice changing software, but the thing is, it turns out that if you're a man trying to sound like a female with voice altering software, it works better for you than if you're a female trying to get your voice to sound like a male. Because I tried several different free programs, and no matter what settings I adjusted, I always sounded like a man pretending to be a woman, like a man trying to make a female voice but not doing a very good job of it. Or I would sound like a serial killer making a call on the phone trying to disguise his voice with something. So basically, yeah, and I did actually. I paid for one program because I thought, well, it has these features available and it doesn't sound too bad. So probably if I buy it, I can tweak it and it'll sound better. But no, I bought the full version and it didn't work. But fortunately, I wrote them about it and they gave me my money back. So I don't hold that against them. I won't call them out on it since they refunded my money. But I have to do something because I'm only one person trying to do all these different voices, and I have to try to distinguish them from each other somehow, so you guys don't get confused when you're listening. So, yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the specific voices that I chose for the people. And I already mentioned Akito. The deep voice kind of suits him because of his perceived delinquent nature, and I already talked about with Senri. The only other one that was really weird was Nemo. But I mean, he did kind of sound like what I was doing a little bit in the actual game. I mean, he was just bizarre the way he was dragging things out. And most of the characters I'm trying to not make them sound annoying and silly. Nemo, I was because he was just crazy and bizarre, and just the way the other characters reacted to him. You just knew he was just this weirdo that was just really out there. So yeah, he was one that I actually did try to make weird and crazy. And then when it comes down to Cardia and Nanami, they both have a similar voice. And that's because, well, originally I had started reading Code Realize first, so I felt that Cardia, she's called a doll and a monster very often, and she's only been conscious for like 2 years. So it seemed like she was very out of touch with emotions. And, the way she has this kind of glassy look in her eyes, she doesn't have really dark pupils or anything. Just the way she looks, especially in the beginning, I feel like she has this kind of emotionless voice most of the time because that's just what she's used to. She's used to being secluded, she's used to being isolated and alone, and used to not showing a whole lot of emotion, is my impression that I got of her. So that's why I read her the way I do. And even towards the end of the game, she would be developing more and stronger emotions later in the game as she got closer to people. But still, she hasn't had a whole lot of experience. She hasn't been around that long. So I feel like it would have been a very gradual or very slight step up in emotionality being shown. So that's why I didn't even at the end, I haven't made her super expressive or anything like that. As opposed to Nanami, where I did actually try, I feel like she has this kind of broken feel to her too, where she's most of the time her voice, she speaks rather expressionlessly because of the way she was used and the way she was brought up. But she breaks out of that a little towards the end of her routes. At least that's how I try to read her. I try to read her as getting more emotional and less robotic sounding towards the ends of her routes as she's becoming more desperate to stay with the guy that she chooses. So I hope that's coming through. And I don't know. I had the feeling some people probably were annoyed at me for reading Cardia, and well, people are going to be mad at you for everything you do, no matter what you do. But so even if I did something different, they would be mad at me for something else. But I figure some people probably didn't like the monotone kind of way of speaking that I gave to Cardia and Nanami. But that's the reason why I did it for them, because I felt that it suited them for those reasons that I mentioned. And also coming up in Reine des Fleurs, when I do get to it, the main character in that one is named Violet, and her description is a young girl who rules over Patterdam and is the proxy reign of the sleeping goddess. She doesn't express many emotions and has a calm, wise personality. Due to being raised in such an isolated location, she is unfamiliar with nature. So, yeah, they say she doesn't express many emotions, which makes me feel like I have to read her the way I did with Cardia too. So I keep having to do the emotionless voice ratings. But I don't know. I hope some of you like it, and I hope some of you will enjoy it when I get to her, and not just feel like I'm reading everybody the same. I'm not doing it because it's my default voice or anything. It's just that I felt that's what suited them. And you hear the way I read Mikoto and Koharu. I read everybody else with much more emotion. It's just, yeah, I haven't read any normal characters since Dandelion, so um, or female characters. I've just had to read a whole lot of male characters with all these Otome games. So yeah, I'm doing the best that I can and trying to get better at it. There's going to be a couple videos where my voice is going to sound pretty rough soon because I've had a cold, and I filmed a bunch of episodes in advance. So everything's getting posted a few days after they've been recorded. But I've had a cold lately and haven't been feeling so great. So some of my videos are kind of nasally, and the voices may not sound right in some of them. Oh, and there is one video in particular that as I was reading it, I realized, oh my God, I made so many reading errors in this video. So I'm actually going to put a note at the beginning because people are going to be annoyed. They're going to notice, so I'm just going to write, sorry for all the errors in the reading. It's like, I read like probably, I don't know, 10 different sentences completely wrong in that episode. So I actually made a note of which episode it was on the video title in my save files. But yeah, so please forgive me for that. I think once I get these two done and I'm down to like one series at a time, I can take my time a little more to make the quality of things a little better. Right now, I think doing two at once, it takes so much time and I feel kind of rushed. It's like, but when I whittle it down some, I won't be in as much of a rush and there won't be as much pressure, so I can take more time to do more takes and hopefully get better with this. Make the quality and consistency of the voices and the voice acting a little better. Because, even though I'm doing this in an amateur capacity and not for a very big audience, I still want to do it as best that I can. Oh yeah, I also did want to say, I want to start incorporating this into my videos somehow because I really want to support the Otome game community. I feel like, I don't know, I hope this can help spread some awareness about Otome games because not many of them are being translated to English. As I had mentioned in my last audio log, there's been hundreds and hundreds of games that were made for like PSP and PS Vita over the last like 10 years or so that never got translated to English because visual novels are not a really big seller in English for some reason, Otome games in particular, but I think they're really great and I think a lot of people would love them if they just knew about them. I feel like the lack of awareness of them is the biggest hindrance in Otome games as far as I know because, I mean, I would have been playing them 10 years ago if they had them, but I think back then I remember playing a few dating sims that were for guys because there were none that were available for females, so I was just fooling around and I would have fun playing ones that were for guys. But I was always like, man, why can't they make some for women? And so now we finally have like a handful of them. But now I'm old, and it's like, it's not quite, I mean, it's still fun, but it's like, I wish they would make some for adults now. But it's like by the time we get a decent amount, if this genre ever really grows, by the time it becomes a thing, I'm going to be like an adult diaper, as I was mentioning in one of the comments in one of the videos. Oh, so it makes me so sad. But, I'd love to encourage people to, if you enjoy my readings of these games, if you have time and or money, pick up some of these Otome games because the field really needs your support. Basically, games that come from Automate, I think it is, are the ones that you should. I mean, there's lots of indie ones, but I would really like to particularly press people about the ones from Automate because there are so many really, really gorgeous Otome games that come out of Japan that are not getting translated, and a lot of them never will get translated, especially if we don't actually start showing them that there is an American market for it. So I'm really hoping that we can start showing them that we are interested in that overseas. And you don't have to buy these full price. They go on sale. Amnesia recently, it went on sale for $3 in a couple different places. On Steam, it was $3 for a while, and then it was also available in two different bundle sites, different prices on different places. But you can look for the sales on these things, and even if you do buy them cheap, you're still supporting the ultimate industry and showing them that people want these games over here. So at least keep a lookout for the sales and pick them up if you can. Every little bit helps. Every little bit is a very good thing. And also, if you don't like my reading over the videos, then it's a really good thing to buy the game. That way you can read it yourself and listen to the voices at your own leisure. And you're supporting the industry at the same time. And hopefully that will help to get more of the games over here. So it's a win-win all the way. So buy it. Buy the Otome games. Everybody get out there. Buy Otome games. So even if you're not going to play it, if you just like listening to me read it, if you can afford to buy one, buy one. Oh yeah, and also, still, if you haven't seen it already, in my last audio log, I put up two straw polls about what I should do, some different things I was thinking about doing with my channel. So if you haven't voted in the polls yet, please take a look at the link below, and that will take you to my last audio log. Or actually, I'm going to put up the link on the screen. So there you go. You can click on the link on the screen, or click on the link in the description below, and that will take you to my last audio log, and you can go to the polls and vote and help me decide what I'm going to be doing in the future. Alright, well that's it for my ramblings for today. Thank you so much for joining me and listening. I hope to see you in some of my other videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye, everybody.